everyone.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Well, my name is Deb Long, and I'm on the board of directors of United Ministries. So on behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome everyone to this convening around homelessness and housing in Greenville County. The organization that I work for, Greenville, the Bon Secours St. Francis Health System, is a partner with the Homeless Alliance, and also is involved in other housing initiatives as well. So we're going to get the program right underway, and the first person we're going to call, you're going to hear, is Ryan Dewart. I hope I'm saying that right, Ryan, who's the CEO of Miracle Hill Ministries and the Greenville Housing Alliance Steering Committee Chair. So Ryan?
Good morning again. So you got the name mostly right. It's Dirk, close enough. So we want to start out by giving some thanks for people who are here. So Mayor White, County Chairman Curvin, Greenville County School Superintendent, Pastor Stacy Mills, and other important people. Thank you for being here to share in this amazing information with us. We have some of our steering committee members present. If you're a steering committee member, would you stand up? So these individuals spent countless hours discussing, dare I say, arguing over the fine points of this report. So they put in a ton of work. Thank you to each one of them. And over 100 stakeholders and partner organizations gathered together over the past year, really, to talk about the content of this report. This is obviously a follow-up to what happened several years ago with Tent City and the original white paper, and we have a much more robust data set, more voices speaking into the process, so we're excited about that. There's a bunch of other individuals that I don't have time to thank, but there are so many people that contributed to the process, to the content of this report. It's really exciting time. So let's talk about the Homeless Alliance a little bit. The Homeless Alliance is a coalition of partner organizations and individuals committing to making homelessness brief and rare in Greenville, South Carolina. We are looking for sustainable solutions to homelessness here in Greenville. Now, the most important part that we want to get to today is the data. So I guess about 8 weeks ago, we had the State of Homelessness report, which gave a much more robust look at homelessness here in the upstate. Every year for years, we've relied on the PIC count for data, which is the idea of looking at homelessness across one night. And for the first time in history, we were allowed to look at homelessness across an entire year. And so we found that 3,633 individuals entered or exited homelessness services here in the upstate, which is a much larger number than we're used to seeing here in the past. Now, this group of people was divided into three main categories: emergency sheltered, unsheltered, and school-aged children. First category is emergency sheltered, and that's individuals who have a safe, warm place to stay, case management, meals, opportunities for personal growth and care. And in 2018-19, according to the South Carolina State of Homelessness report, 2,285 men, women, and children accessed emergency shelters in Greenville County. Miracle Hill provides 60% of those beds, but there are much more agencies to contribute to the current needs for shelters. 2/3 of those individuals were male. 64% of those adults were 25 to 54 years old, which is the prime income earning years for an individual. But more than 75% of those individuals went into emergency shelter without employment or stating that they had no income. So I want to leave you with one important point. I'm often asked if we need more shelters. We don't need more shelters, we need more shelter exits. So we immediately need 400 shelter exits to relieve the bottleneck in our shelters. We have dozens, 50, 100 individuals right now who are employed, are ready to move on, and they frankly have nowhere to go. And that looks like rental ranges somewhere between $200 to $650. And people say, Ryan, $200 rents? Well, those are subsidized rents. But we do need exits beyond affordable housing. We need more permanent supportive housing. we need transitional housing, we need single room occupancy housing to help relieve that pressure on our shelters. Now to look at our unsheltered numbers, Lorraine's gonna come up and share a little bit about that.
Okay, so Ryan is very tall, and he doesn't need glasses, so that's impressive to me right off the bat. So as the Director of United Housing Connections and the Chair of the Upstate Continuum of Care, I'm very proud of the data contribution that the Continuum could make to the white paper. The mission of both organizations is to make homelessness brief, rare, and non-recurring across 13 counties of the upstate. Our organization was chosen by the South Carolina Interagency Council on Homelessness to gather, analyze, and deliver the 2019 South Carolina State of Homelessness Report. We are proud that the information in this report was used as a resource for the Upstate Homeless Alliance white paper. Some highlights in the white paper include our work with Miracle Hill Ministries to produce a more comprehensive number of persons who received emergency shelter services in Greenville County and a more accurate count of persons living in unsheltered settings through our partnership with the Greenville County Sheriff's Department to identify and visit encampments during our annual point-in-time count. Let's take a closer look at the unsheltered numbers. There were 242 men and women identified last January as living in a car, an abandoned building, or on the street, or in a place not meant for human habitation. 39% were considered chronically homeless, which means they have a long-term disability and have been experiencing homelessness for the last 12 months continuously, or 3 times over a 12-month period in 3 years. It's important to note here that the most successful housing solution for chronically homeless men and women is permanent, supportive housing. The best practice model utilizes a philosophy called Housing First that combines long-term housing with financial assistance and intense case management. Housing First moves people into housing first, without precondition, into safe, permanent housing. A great current example is Reedy Place. Built in 2010, it stood for more than 13 years as a beacon of hope and home for 23 individuals who suffer with chronic homelessness and have a permanent mental or physical disability. It's a 23-bed facility and is over the past 13 years has helped more than 60 individuals. You can read more about Reedy Place on page 20 of the report. April Simpson, Mary Kay Campbell, and their team with Greater Greenville Mental Health, I would like to thank them for their contribution to Reedy Place. Without them, we would not be able to do what we do. We'd also like to thank the Greenville Housing Authority for their help and support in providing project-based vouchers for some of our units. United Housing Connections is committed to providing more housing for people living unsheltered and experiencing chronic homelessness. In 2019, a capital campaign began to raise funds for 36 additional units. This love of my life here in the past year is going to be called Church Street Place at Poe Mill. You can learn more about that project on page 41. Now please allow me to introduce Dr. Burke Royster, Superintendent of Schools for Greenville County, to speak about children experiencing homelessness.
Thank you. Good morning. We're most fortunate in Greenville County Schools that we have dedicated and hardworking teachers and staff. We have an extremely supportive and visionary board of trustees. We have a very supportive Greenville community. Many of you are part of that support. And with all those entities coming together and working towards a common goal, we've been very successful what we've been able to do with students. Our goal obviously is for all of our students to graduate, for them to graduate not only with their high school diploma, but either to have college credit or to have some sort of industry certification. So they're really and truly prepared for the future. They are truly college or career ready. But for a number of our students, there are barriers to that success. We don't always think about it, particularly if you rode through downtown Greenville this morning, if you came up Main Street like I did. That's not the picture, though, for every student and every family in Greenville County. We have 77,000 students. About half of them live in poverty. They meet the federal definition for poverty. That is a great barrier often to them being successful in school. One of the most visible signs of that poverty, and one of the greatest challenges to success, is homelessness. Inside that 77,000, inside those in poverty, we have more than 1,100 students that are homeless. Now think about the impact of that. Look out the window right now. Doesn't look all that inviting outside. Windy, it's cold, it's been raining. Imagine you're sitting in a third grade class as a student, or a middle school class, or science class at the high school level. Are you concentrating on that? Or if you have no place to go tonight, you don't know with certainty you have a place to go where you'll be sheltered from the elements. What are you thinking about? That's a huge barrier to success. And a key to breaking that cycle of poverty is education and preparation, either to go to college and then have a career, or to go directly to a career that will pay them a living wage. Well, imagine that barrier if you're that student too. And how challenging that is for our teachers, for our principals, and for our community. The way out of that, obviously, today represents the solution. It is that which we have come to know is extremely important to success in Greenville County, and that's public-private partnerships engaged in a common goal to either advance something or eradicate a problem. So to me, that's an extremely positive step to look around this room and see the people representing those entities that can help end this, help to break that cycle of poverty, and help to position our students where they can, all of our students, where they can be as successful as they can possibly be. I thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this today. Look forward to working with each of you in addressing this problem that impacts all of us and our quality of life, both individually and collectively as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Royster. I'm Susan McClarty, coordinator with the Greenville Homeless Alliance, and you have heard the numbers. You've heard a little bit about each of these three large points of data, which represent both emergency shelter, unsheltered, and our children. Emergency shelters must catch people who are new to homelessness. Our report shows with data that 75% of the individuals seeking emergency shelter arrived with zero income. We must recognize, though, that many are working in jobs once they are connected to shelter, and these jobs are essential to our economy. We have a quote from Bruce Forbes in the report, and also highlights on that page, jobs paying $15 or less in this county, down to minimum wage, really cannot access housing. And so you find people living for longer periods of time in emergency shelter. In our unsheltered, as Lorraine shared, we have 39% who are chronically homeless living on our streets. We need to recognize that this is causing additional trauma and stress, and understand as a community it's going to take us longer and it's going to take more of our resources than to solve homelessness for individuals who live longer than a year on the streets. But as Lorraine shared, we have a signal of hope in Reedy Place, and this reduces the cost to us as taxpayers. So there's smarter and better ways we can spend our dollars. Greenville County ranks 3rd in the state for a number of people experiencing homelessness. And this is not a top 10 list you want to be on. So there's smarter and better ways we can spend as children were so eloquently explained by Dr. Royster, we want you to leave here today knowing that 90% of those children do not have access to financial resources to end their homelessness. So that, again, is a call to this community, something we must grapple with. It especially becomes complex if you're a single mother with a son aged 10 years or older. If you're a single father, it's extremely difficult, or if you are a large family. To reach the next stage of planning, we must move beyond what we've traditionally done. And so in your handout, we've outlined 5 priorities. The first we've talked about, increase our housing and exits from homelessness. This is simply to get our system working again. So 850, again, we unlock that number, we'll start to see the system work. We have to reduce the barriers, continue to increase our collaboration, develop a sustainable fund to end homelessness, collect data that can measure progress, and continue advocacy around mental health services, opportunities for previously incarcerated men and women. We're glad to have members from Soteria with us today, and also affordable child care options. We have to strengthen our coordinated response. So we are calling for the first time ever to have a single system of entry and exit for homelessness for Greenville County. And we must continue to support transit. It's essential for economic mobility and economic prosperity for all. If we can implement the transit development plan by 2023 as it is outlined, this is a great first step. Impacting policymaking is our final priority. And we recognize our newly elected officials. John DeWorkin is with us. We have Lillian Brock Fleming, a longtime elected official, with us today. Any other elected officials with us that I have not recognized? Will Brasington with Greenville City Council is here as well. Thank you all for being here. You are essential in working with us to implement policies that affect our residents experiencing homelessness and housing instability. Economic development has no boundaries. We're so glad to have the city and the county here today for that reason. Homelessness has no boundaries as well. So I'll leave you on a final note of hope. We have the veterans, and this, where is the veterans? Lindsay is with us, and very exciting that in 2020 we expect, because of many partners working together, to announce we reach 0 veterans homelessness. And you can read more about that in our report. I'm going to turn it over now to Stacy Mills, who's Executive Director for USC Upstate Greenville and the pastor of Mountain View Baptist Church.
Thanks, Susan. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This is doable. Just this week, Greenville was recognized for winning the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Culture of Health Prize. And I traveled with colleagues to Princeton University and Princeton, New Jersey to receive that prize. And we find that this is not a unique problem, but Greenville has to take unique steps to solve this issue. We won because of our commitment to community health, an opportunity and equity through collaboration and inclusion, especially with historically marginalized populations and those facing the greatest barriers to good health. This award is not an ending point, but a beginning for more collaboration and action to advance health and equality for all. The Greenville Homeless Alliance report calls us to the same action, to embrace this challenge and work together to address the issue of homelessness in our community. It affects health, it affects our children, it affects economic mobility, it affects our community and its ability to be a healthy place for everyone. This report suggests several community-wide solutions for decreasing the number of residents currently experiencing homelessness, including 100 long-term supportive housing units where unsheltered men and women move off our streets, pay 30% of their income toward housing costs, and have access to primary care providers and mental health services, increasing exits from emergency shelter by 400 housing options so that people new to experiencing homelessness have quick access to safe shelter, which means we reduce the overall time people experience the toxic stress of living on our streets, in a car, or in an abandoned building. And 350 housing units options along with diversion strategies for families with children in Greenville County schools, as our superintendent has already mentioned. Investing in the immediate need for 850 total housing options means that our overall homeless system will be able to work efficiently and effectively. This is just a beginning, as we know 222,000 or more people are moving to Greenville County by 2040. These solutions require resources to implement, human capital, and financial investment, but this is what we do in Greenville. We embrace challenges and we work together. Equity, which is a core value of the Greenville Homeless Alliance, means that we as a community understand equity is doing whatever is required for the best possible outcome. Fair access to safe and affordable housing benefits everyone. It occurs to me that a person who thinks well and feels well about himself will behave well in our society. As we move into the season where we focus on giving thanks, I encourage you to engage in these important conversations, be willing to invest in solutions, and let's all work together to make homelessness brief and rare in Greenville County. Thank you.
Well, if you want to get anything done, this is the way to do it. Get everybody together, get them on the same team, and move out in a unified effort. So my compliments to Susan and the whole team that's here today, because I think you can get a lot done. We understand that homelessness is a growing concern in our community, and we really appreciate the study that we have available now and all the data that was mentioned earlier. And I think that's going to be a guide to our strategy moving forward. We understand there are many causes to homelessness. Among them are mental illness, drug addiction, breakdown of the family structure, and economic dislocation. But we have a strong interest as a community in combating homelessness because of the tragedy of human suffering, the effects on innocent children, and the accumulative cost to our society. But our goal is to reduce or eradicate homelessness in Greenville County. But the strategy must not be one that facilitates continued homelessness, but one that will provide a structure that enables people to help themselves to overcome the circumstances so they can break out of the cycle of homelessness. Greenville County is already engaged on a number of fronts. We've increased dramatically support for transit through GTA and Greenland. We've increased dramatically our support for affordable housing and attainable housing through the Greenville County Redevelopment Authority. We're working closer than ever before with the city of Greenville and other municipalities around the county in a number of areas, including adding affordable housing. And thanks to a lot of you in this room, Greenville County was able to participate significantly in developing the motel displacement response plan after we had an emergency situation. But now we have a plan in place when this situation again arises, as it surely will. The Greenville Homeless Alliance, I think, brings together all of the elements necessary for an inclusive and unified effort that is essential for the accomplishment of this vital mission for our county. And I call on my colleague, Mayor of Greenville, Dr. White.
Thank you, Butch. Didn't want to be introduced by you. I appreciate that. I had the opportunity, excuse me, a couple months ago to visit a sister city in South Carolina. I was specifically there to look at a number of transportation ideas they had, because they were doing some things I thought were pretty creative and innovative, and I wanted to see that. But I also had a chance to spend about an hour as they gave me an introduction to how they deal with the homeless community in their city. A situation which I would say, in terms of being conspicuous, is more conspicuous than ours as you walk around the city. So I sat through their meeting, and they brought a bunch of people, kind of similar to what you have here, minus the press. And you know what I heard for the first 10 minutes? I sat there while they were infighting, I guess that's the word to use. They immediately, right in front of me, got into what they're doing. No, that's not what we're doing. We're doing this, and back and forth. And it was astounding. And I know some people in this room probably guess what city this might have been. Talking about working across purposes. There seemed to be no document like this. I asked for it. I got nothing like that. I got no kind of fact sheet. Just give me the facts. What do you see on the ground? They don't seem to have anything quite like that, or anything they can agree upon. And unfortunately, this is actually more common than you may think. The people who want to address issues of homelessness and all in many communities don't work together, to put it politely, at all. And they're actually working across purposes. And I mean by that, a philosophical difference, divide between how we should address this issue in our community. No wonder they can't get anything done, and no wonder there's more of a conspicuous problem in that community than here in Greenville. But it's been the Greenville story for a long time of good planning, which means people coming together, and again, people coming together in collaboration to make it happen, whatever it is, whatever that plan is. And that's why we are so successful in economic development. That's why we're successful in our beautiful downtown and our community that Mr. Kirkman spoke about as well, and now addressing issues of affordable housing and transportation. But a lot of places that doesn't happen. But it does happen here. And so the affection and pride I have in everyone in this room, I just can't begin to express. It's absolutely a wonderful thing to see. I'm always relearning that. And this report has some incredible ideas, and also, again, pulling together the facts and figures is where it starts. And began to help people understand they have many misconceptions about this issue. I particularly want to single out one, Susan. I think this concept of the exit ramp, the exit idea is a brilliant idea. To me, it just clarifies things so well, because I do think too many people think just in terms of the emergency response. We hear the number of beds you have. The question you get, same question I get, how many beds do you have? As if that is the answer to homelessness in your community. It is absolutely an essential ingredient. But being able to think beyond that as a community to exit ramps and what we're doing at Reedy Place and places like that, now that is something we can really get our arms around as a community and address and make happen. One final thing, I've had my own experience working with this organization and the famous coffee club, which gets together, again, collaboration. It comes so natural, it seems. You all seem to get together really well, and talk about people, individuals, real, what you used to call case management, I guess, one-on-one, this person on the street. And so I got to see in real time, as I just visited the coffee club and talked about an individual who sort of was on Main Street in Greenville for several months. And that coffee club, no surprise, knew exactly who that person was. They knew him by name. They knew what his situation was. And in a couple months' time, he's at Reedy Place, no longer in that spot in downtown Greenville where I used to experience him on a daily basis. And that's how it's done in Greenville, South Carolina. So thank you all for your great leadership in this field. The city and the county are doing our part on transportation and housing in a way that's never been done before in Greenville. And I think we're just getting started, but it is historic, and I appreciate all the cooperation and partnership with the county of Greenville. So thank you for this report, and let's keep focusing on every element, but I think that exit ramp is going to become our new frequently cited lingo in Greenville, if you will. But thank you, Susan. Thank you for the line.
So we have a historic signing of a proclamation today, and what makes it historic is that we've never had a proclamation where both our city and Greenville and our county of Greenville signed it jointly. And so I'll let maybe you all each take a line and then sign it. And before we start, I do want to recognize Hank is here with the chamber and a very essential role in creating this report and looking forward around policy work with the chamber. So thank you for being here.
And this is to proclaim Greenville Homeless Alliance Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Day in the city and county of Greenville. So, go ahead, Don. Stop me first. Do you want to read?
I want y'all to each take a whereas.
Susan is so organized.
I mean, when did we get to do this? So.
Okay, that sounds good. Which I'll let you lead off.
Whereas in 2015, the Homeless Leadership Task Force, consisting of 18 partners that included the city and county of Greenville, published the Homelessness White Paper after a more unified and collaborative approach to the tent city crisis under the Pete Hollis Bridge.
And whereas the Greenville Homeless Alliance public and private partners now exceeds 75 organizations and over 350 individuals.
And whereas in 2019, the Greenville Homeless Alliance and Upstate Mediation Center involved more than 70 organizations and 100 individuals, including men, women, and children, with the lived experience of homelessness in updating the 2015 Homelessness White Paper.
And whereas the City of Greenville and Greenville County recognize the Greenville Homeless Alliance as the convener for making homelessness brief and rare in Greenville County.
And whereas the Greenville Homeless Alliance's release of the 2019 report on homelessness in Greenville County coincides with National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness.
Therefore, Knox White, Mayor of Greenville, and Mr. Butch Curvin, Chairman of Greenville County Council, do hereby proclaim Friday, November 15th, 2019 as Greenville Homeless Alliance Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Day.
In Greenville County, and we urge all citizens to join the organizations and individuals who contributed to the 2019 report on homelessness and participate in making homelessness brief and rare in our community through education, advocacy, collaboration, and innovation.
Okay, I'm just gonna sign this document.
And a quick shout out while Lauren comes up. Lawson Wetley is here with the Upstate Mediation Center and led the many listening sessions. So thank you again, Lawson.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lauren Stevens. I'm the Director of Social Ministries at the Salvation Army, as well as the Vice Chair of the Greenville Homeless Alliance here in Greenville. First, I want to thank all of our speakers that have spoken this morning. As Ryan mentioned, there are members of the steering committee present today, and we are all happy to answer any questions you may have about the presentation or the report that's been provided. I want to give a special thanks to the staff of the Greenville Homeless Alliance. They are going to probably never tell you how hard this was to do. And we are so indebted to them for their dedication, service, and leadership throughout the creation of the white paper document as it was updated this year. In short, we have seen mountains move by collaboration. We have watched as the issue of homelessness has first crept and now kept its place at the table of discussion here in this vibrant community. We are incredibly grateful to all of the many ways in which this was made to happen. It is our task now to walk through some dark valleys and to have tough conversations about ourselves, with ourselves. This can and will get better. Greenville is entirely capable of creating a community that can say for a fact that here in Greenville, homelessness is brief and rare. Thank you again for spending the morning with us here and taking time to take part in this critical conversation.
One final comment, we have a few people who were featured in our report. Nita is here if you have questions, and her story is in the report. And then again from Soteria, Fred was working, but we have another. Elton is with us and happy to answer questions about Soteria's program. Thank you all again.